Okay, hi everybody. I'm Michael. I am a NHRCCC committee member, and I thought I'd do this presentation over YouTube, just be a little bit easier to get some of my ideas across. First thing I'd like to say is that some of the views on this personal and not always representative of the committee. And so if there are things that you think that you disagree with, I'd also like to hear about those as well. So this YouTube video is literally going to be me sitting here talking. And if you don't agree with the things that I'm about to propose, I'd still love you to give feedback in a form that I'll put on the website tomorrow. So it is live questions. However, I will be keeping the questions part to the end. So let's get into it. So firstly, I'd just like to thank all the committee members that have supported me. Again, some of them don't agree with my views, and that's okay. But everyone has still supported me and really getting behind, and I've just had a huge amount of support. So thanks. So how my ideas came about was basically I took a break from racing to start the family, and I went online sim racing through iRacing, and really love and enjoy that. And then when I came back to racing a year ago, I found that the racing wasn't quite the same as it sort of should be, or it was too much the same. So the system wasn't quite working. It was really hard to find information. The website was bad. There was no scrutineering, and everything was a little bit dodgy. So took on the task of the website, and throughout that time, I've kind of been thinking about how could we make the racing better. First of all, we need to get the information out to everybody, and then secondly, we need to ask ourselves, what can we do better with the racing? So what the online racing does better is it always has big racing fields. You're always racing against the people that you're also always racing against the same people because they're always at your level. Doesn't matter if you're first or 20th or 50th, they always tend to be about the same people. So you end up getting a relationship of driving against people that becomes respectful, and you get really close, respectful racing. The online racing also has really good penalty system, track variety, race distance variety, and things like compulsory pit stops and tyre wear. So strategy comes into it. The races are broadcast live over YouTube, and they have live commentary. So when I came back to North Harbour, I kind of found that we had a few problems. We have small fields. We have a large amount of entries, but we have small fields, and everybody's spread across a lot of different classes. TTO2 over the year 2018 has had 20 different drivers, but North Harbour as a club, we've had 111 different drivers throughout the year. I kind of feel that there's a real lack of roadmap with your driving. So you could come in and you could change from one class to another, and there's not really any general direction or goal or there's no real focus or main championship that everyone should be desiring. And what I really want is have everybody sort of on the same page, and we all want to desire this one golden championship. So I sort of asked myself, if it was a business, how would I fix it? And so you'd want to have the big fields where the racing is close and fun. You don't want to have small fields where the driving is really disconnected. People are, either a minute ahead of you or a minute behind you, and then you end up, people end up leaving the class in search of something else, or they end up leaving the sport. I guess as I've just done all the championship points lately, I noticed that a lot of people change classes halfway through the year, and I don't know if that's because maybe they feel the championship is lost and they've got no more passion towards that, or for some reason they see the grass greener on the other side for another class. But we get a lot of people changing to a different class midway through the year. We need people to stay in the same class all year. What we kind of need to do is we need to restrict the rules for the really top and experienced drivers, but also be flexible enough so that we can allow the rookie drivers, the new drivers, to come on in and they can compete in the same event, in the same class, in the same races, and they can get a feel of the taste of the racing without having the same limitation on the rules. Because TTO2 is a sort of an entry class, we really need to be a little bit flexible with the rules, but that's really difficult to do. So we've got to come up with solutions on how to fix that. So we don't want to turn people away. We really like the trucks. The trucks look great out there, but our rules say that it has to be GT3 style cars. So we need to get this balance in place. So the rules I'm about to discuss are only going to apply to Tamiya GT. All other classes are going to be run as NZRCA race formats for 2019. And same with championship points. They're all going to be fairly similar to last year. All of these things that I'm going to talk about will only apply to the Tamiya GT. So the plan is essentially to provide a safe environment for new and experienced drivers where they can experience a premier Tamiya GT championship season. So when I say new and old drivers, I want to include the top drivers. I want to include the rookie drivers. I want to include everyone in between. There's a saying in racing where numbers breed numbers. So the more people we can attract to this, the more people will see that it's great and it's growing, and hopefully we can grow and become a bigger audience to not just the people already in our club, but also newcomers to the sport. And hopefully it can be attractive enough so we keep them. And so the way we solve this is we do what the Blanche Payne GT3 class does in Europe. In the real racing, Blanche Payne, they run pro and pro-am drivers together. So what we can do is we can now say that we can accept a pro entry, and you have these very limited, restricted rules, and we can say if you don't quite meet the rules, you're pro-am, and potentially another class for rookie, but we'll see how we go with the pro and the pro-am first. And just like the Blanche Payne GT3 series, we can also replicate those body shells for the pro class. So we've got the pro class running very strict, the Tamiya GT500 shells, or there's the Mercedes GT3 body shell, and there's also the Subaru BRZ GT300 body shell. So the pro drivers will be very restricted in the body shells, and we can be more relaxed for other people, the newcomers, someone who's just bought a drift set and now wants to race or something like that. Now we can say you can come in and race in the Pro-Am division. So when I say a safe environment, I'm meaning it's a fair place to race, so that rules are really are very strict for the pro drivers. So if you are dedicated to racing and you want a clean, fair place to race in a championship, this would be your place to go. We're going to keep the costs down, the racing fun, heaps of competition, and hopefully this breeds the class and we grow. Why Tamiya GT? Well, I think the entry-level class is a great place to start first, because if I tried to get everyone to race modified, that would be a bit of a stretch. Having an entry-level class means that it involves everybody, so we can literally have everyone in the club racing it. It also means that we've kind of got fixed setups with the TTO2, so you're definitely getting beaten by a better driver, not bigger budgets, and that should produce better racing. So when it comes to a premier experience, this is kind of the second half of the whole shake-up. So we're kind of looking at rules and driving divisions and how everyone fits in. Now we look at all the race formats. Another great reason to tackle TTO2 is because it's not NZRCA, it's not, no one's got expectations on the racing formats for if they go to the nationals, because it's not a nationally supported event. So we can have a real shake-up of the race formats. So when I first came back, you really felt that kick of we're still stuck in the 1980s, 5-minute qualifying, another 5-minute qualifying, another 5-minute race. We're doing 5-minute things because this was how the timing was done. When a flag went past the loop, we pushed the button on a computer, and we're still doing that. And I think we're definitely time for a change. We can have all different rounds. I think if anyone's been watching the Supercars Championship for the last 2 or 3 years, Supercars has a really good format of racing. They mix up the races, mix up the qualifying, pressures on the drivers at all levels, and different types of race events. So the thinking at the moment is we have a sprint round, 5-minute final, which is similar to what we currently run. We have a super round, which would be 8 minutes, and it would have a compulsory pit stop and possibly a shootout for qualifying. We'd have a double header round. So it'd be 5-minute race and then reverse direction and reverse grid for the second race. So instead of 2 qualifiers in 1 race, we'd have 1 qualifier and 2 races. There'd be a staged enduro. So there'd be a staged enduro is not racing the entire enduro over 1 period. It's racing kind of like a rally stage where you add up your stages. So we'd have 3 8-minute stages, and we add up those laps and times to get the winner at the end of the 3 rounds. I'm really keen on this one, kind of replicating a second driver in the V8 Supercars in Bathurst. Like Richie Stanaway last year had to hop into his Ford Falcon, and he had to drive immediately from the pits in the race, and it was raining at Bathurst, and he didn't have any warm-up laps. No doing laps before gridding up. This is just straight out of the pits into the race. So that kind of thing would be where all drivers from all classes are banned from practice, and we line up on the grid, and then first race gets underway without doing any warm-up laps, and you're into the race straight away. And then we'd have a solo enduro, which would ultimately be probably our premier race, like a Bathurst, which would be a 20-minute race, and it would have 2 compulsory pit stops. How are we going to do the compulsory pit stops? We're going to do stickers on the windshield, and we'll have a little box that you can stick in made of plywood, that you can drive into made of plywood. And if you safely enter the pits, then you get your sticker, and the plywood will raise up and you can drive off. The next part will be the post-race penalty system. So I think this is what's done really well on line racing, is that post-race, the races are investigated and penalties are given out. And I'm seeing a lot of racing where the old school respect is gone, and people aren't addressing or redressing mistakes or driving incidents. So essentially, if there's something that looks like a driving incident, nobody's fault, but one of the drivers took off, then that's going to get penalties. We're going to be pretty hard on the driving penalties, and I'll be giving examples of that before the championship starts. And how that point system works is you might get 25 points for not redressing, and that 25 points gets deducted from your championship. It also gets into your penalty register, and as soon as you hit 100 points, then you have to start back of grid next race. And I think this is a really good way of cleaning up the driving, and this is a great position with the entry-level class for the driving standards to be cleaned up, so that people are learning from the start that actually racing respectfully is a lot more fun than just crash and bashing. And of course, we're trying to set up a really safe environment where people can come and know that it's a fair environment. So any cheats that are going to go out and break the rules purposely, they just get excluded from the championship for the rest of the year. And we're going to be pretty hard on that. So Pro and Pro-Am, what are the differences between Pro and Pro-Am? Well, both cars are going to be on the same track at the same time, just like in Blanchpain. They're both fighting for the same win. Pro-Am will score at a lower multiplier than Pro. So say for 150 points for a win, Pro-Am would get 150 points times 0.8, so it'd be like something like 138 points for a win. So the Pro drivers will be scoring at a higher rate. Pro-Am drivers will be scored at a lower multiplier. This is because potentially they're not sticking to the rules, to the really strict rules. The multiplier will also apply to the driving standards. So if a Pro driver makes a penalty, that 25 points will be 25. If a Pro-Am driver made the same mistake, it might be, say, 20 points. So there's a little bit more leniency for those Pro-Am drivers. The Pro drivers must register their body shell and stick to the same body shell brand for the year. They're limited to the GD500s, the GD300, and the GD3 cars. Pro-Am is able to drive any of the TT02 body shells, so the drift cars can come in, the trucks can come in. That just means it's a lot safer for us trying to scrutineer, and we're still inclusive. So these new people that can come in can still race these things that they got for Christmas. How we're going to distinguish the cars on the track, in Blanchpain, they actually have stickers on the car that says Pro and Pro-Am. So really keen to get behind printing some stickers off that we can stick to the body shells, and or maybe like Supercars does, how they have nice big printed numbered stickers on your car. We could print off some stickers, and they might be different color for Pro and Pro-Am. A Pro driver will purchase tires from the club as part of their entry fee. They will be hand-back tires. So you have to make those tires last the season. We're currently working on getting tires at the moment. Pro-Am will still be open rubber tires, but we would recommend to run the same tires. But yeah, the Pro drivers will have to hand back their tires at the end of the day. And there'll be penalties. There'll be championship point penalties if you need to change tires, if you need to buy another set of tires before the end of the season, or if you have to change a motor before the end of the season, whereas it's kind of a bit more open in Pro-Am. Yeah. So in 2018, we had 111 different drivers. We had 20 of them drive TT02, so that's about 1/5 of all the drivers that we've had through the door. If we could lift that a little bit, and hopefully we could see, 30 drivers or 20 plus drivers on a regular basis turning up to meetings, I think that will then grow and grow and grow. Hopefully we can also grow to encourage new drivers to drive TT02 as well, and grow the club. And also, I think we can also give some assurances that the class is going to be a long-term class. So we can say, like, TT02 is going to be here for the next 3 years, because if there's a new chassis that comes out, we only allow Pro drivers to race that chassis. And then we continue to race TT02 in the Pro-Am class. So it gives people that are racing on a budget a little bit of long-term support. So to say, we're here to support you, we're not going to just drop you next year and everything changes and now you have to fork out lots of money. We can say, these will be the rules for the next 3 years for TTO2. And if anything changes, it's only going to affect the people that are paying, generally paying to race it anyway. So hopefully this can really attract some more people. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm going to go through now and see if I got any questions. Well, I've got a few people here that have been on the chat, so let me just have a read. Hey James, yeah, good to have you. Good to have you here. Hope to see you racing next year. They may do a beginner class. Oh, yeah. So James said they may do a beginner class with TTO2 as well. Yeah, we might have a third tier, which would be rookie. So if you are really brand new and not raced before, then we might say there's a rookie part. I guess the main thing is we don't want people abusing the Pro-Am privileges and just coming in and saying, I've got this brand new fully modified TTO2, can I race in Pro-Am? So we might say there's a rookie class where you have to get your license to get to Pro-Am, and that might include you have to have raced, so many races, and then, to get your license, you have to have your correct chassis for Pro-Am. Yeah, okay. If there's any other questions, fire them through. If not, I'm going to basically have a form up tomorrow. So regardless of if you liked this or if you didn't like it, I'd still like your feedback, just so we know what we're doing. We're currently ordering tires for the Pro drivers next year. We'd also like to have some left over for Pro-Am, if Pro-Am drivers also want to buy the same tire as Pro. But yeah, we just want to get a feel for how it's going to go. I guess this is the first year of a few years of doing this, so we've got to just balance things a little bit more carefully. But yeah, okay. I don't think. Okay, so you've got James is asking in terms of bodies and what kits are allowed. So I'm not entirely sure. I'm not fully across all the varieties of TTO2. But essentially, we would allow anyone that's coming into the sport to race the TTO2 they have. You might go through a period of sitting in with the. In the very first meeting, we might put you in with the kids, see what your skill levels are like, and then we'll put you at the back of the field of the Tamiya GT straight away. As far as bodies, they have to be the Tamiya TTO2 bodies. We certainly don't want people buying protoform style bodies, which are the sleek NASCAR looking body shells. It's because it's a cost thing. We want to make sure that we limit the costs as much as we can. Yep, so if the body came from a kit, then you're all good to bring that kit along. Yep, that's fine. So there'll be, yeah. I think the Lancia is a TTO2 body shell, so that's the little the rally car Lancia. That's a TTO2 TTO2 shell. So yeah, you could race that one. That's fine. That would be fine for Pro-Am. That wouldn't be fine for Pro. Okay. If there aren't any more questions, I think we'll wrap this up, and yeah, we're done. I'll write all this up tomorrow. I'll post the I'll post the video and also the form to fill out. Hopefully we can get some responses on that. So how do we get into Pro? Well, essentially, you just buy your entry with Pro. There'll be a series of a form you have to fill out online, and it will include things like give me a photo of your body shell. You'll be asked what number you like. Give a little bio about yourself. You'll probably, I think we'll open up the website a lot more to people that want to write reviews about their racing. So I think we'll open that up for Pro and Pro-Am regardless, but people can start writing their race blogs. That should be happening next year. So yeah, to get into Pro, essentially, you just need to buy the correct kit and then register it with us. As you buy your membership, we can accept your entry. Now, it has been raised that we might run out of tyres to supply. If we run out of tyres, we won't sell any further Pro licenses. So no one will be racing. No one will be racing Pro without the Pro tyre that we're going to supply. You'll be in the Pro-Am class. If you're a member of another club, you can, you'll be, and you want to pay per visit, then that's fine. You'll just probably be somewhere in the rookie class. And yeah, I'll properly flesh out what rookie means, but it might mean something like, yeah, I'm not too sure yet. If you're a you know, if you're a competent driver and you're coming racing all the time, then I'd recommend getting a membership, because it pays off in the end, because you get a discounted race fee. So it doesn't cost too much to be a member in the long run, especially if you pay at the start of the year. Okay, so any more questions there? Hopefully I've covered everything off. Yep. When is fees cost for 2019? It's already out. It's on the website. Yep, you can actually pay now for your membership. Some people have, so that's great. Marty's probably not going to like me saying that, but it's going to make extra work for him before Christmas. But the membership form is there now. Basically, we have to get the membership form out early because people need the NZRCA license for those people that are travelling down to Christchurch for the Nationals in February. So yeah, that's when the fees are coming out. Cool. Okay. Well, I hope to see you guys at the next meeting. So we have, yeah, I guess I've got a few little announcements that are an aside to this. We have the prize giving race meeting, which is happening December 16. So it may be a limited race meeting. We're not entirely sure, depending on the entries and things. But essentially, we'll try and finish up racing a bit earlier so we can have a barbecue or something like that. I'm not too sure, so don't quote me on that. But maybe just stop racing for the prize giving. And then there's also the potential for a January 16 meeting, which will just be an open track meeting, just as a test base for those that want to get ready for the Nationals, those that just want to come along and test a few things. And I'm not sure what the costs are going to be on that yet, but it might be dependent on numbers. So if we don't have the support, I know it's a difficult time of year because everyone's on holiday. So if we don't have the support for that, then it might not. We might not do the January meeting. But yeah, cool. Okay, thanks everybody for watching and putting up with me. Cheers.